Hi, my name is Brooke Briola, and today we'll be discussing Our Secret Vice, a scholarly approach to fanfiction. Now, today I will be discussing a lecture originally given by Una McCormick titled Our Secret Vice, Fanfiction as a Creative Critical Response to the Words and Works of Tolkien. This was originally published by the Tolkien Society on Facebook. Concerning my own presentation, we'll be covering fanfiction, including a brief overview of what it is and who is currently supporting it, nuances of the Tolkien fandom, including notable fan works and how they explore underrepresented elements from The Lord of the Rings, and what ties all this together and what makes it ultimately important. And a quick little side note, I am not as well versed with the Lord of the Rings series as some of you watching may be, so just bear with me here. So, first off, fanfiction. Bare bones of modern fanfiction. Fanfiction is loosely defined as literary works involving and or centered around elements of an existing work. These are created by fans for fans, solely out of love for the source material. These are not made for any financial profit because that would be some major crimes against copyright laws and would be highly illegal. Fanfiction is often found within fandoms, or tightly knit yet geographically dispersed groups of fans. So we're talking global communities here across websites such as social media and designated fandom sites. And modern fanfiction is popularized by the Star Trek fandom in the 1960s. The primary supporting organization for fanfiction is the Organization for Transformative Works, or the OTW. This is a non-profit organization created by fans for fans. Its intentions are to preserve fan works and legally advocate for fan fiction writers around the world. So this is involving any legal disputes they might get into for aforementioned copyright laws and also for any stigma they may receive on social media. Two of the OTW's notable projects include Archive of Our Own, aka AO3, which I'm certain everyone here is familiar with. This is a fan-sustained fanfiction archive, and it won a Hugo Award in 2019, which is quite a massive achievement. Another notable project is the Transformative Works and Cultures Journal, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it promotes scholarship around fan activity. Now, a term you often hear is that fanfiction should be taken seriously. And, well, why should it be? Well, for one, fan activity has been studied for almost 30 years now, simply because of how influential it has been globally across many different fandoms, such as Warrior Cats and My Hero Academia, and especially what we'll be discussing today, Lord of the Rings fandom. And a quote from McCormick here is, "The writing of fanfiction in itself can be considered a kind of scholarly activity, a form of analysis and critique of the texts which is intimately and passionately involved." Now here's a fun fact for you. Over 67,000 stories were tagged with Tolkien on Archive of Our Own in April 2020. That number has since risen to 81,199 at the time of this presentation. That's wild. This is just for Tolkien alone. This isn't even considering Lord of the Rings. Now let's take a look at the nuances of the Tolkien fandom. The Lord of the Rings, like many epics before it, is a famously masculine series, so it lacks many alternate perspectives, particularly that of women, as well as other racial minorities. Via fanfiction, fans can counteract this, though, and there's two ways they can go about it. One, the original route. They can create a compelling female fan character, or any other minority character. This runs a major risk of being dismissed as a Mary Sue, which is a whole other topic for a whole different presentation. The other route is the canon route, which is using a canon female character or other character to explore womanhood or other situations in Middle-earth. This is slightly limiting compared to the original route, but it's also arguably safer. Now here are a trio of notable Lord of the Rings fanfictions, all of which can be found on Archive of Our Own. Firstly, Amid the Powers of the World by Azaleus. This story follows a complex and artful story of Rowana, an original female protagonist who assists the Ringsbearers party and falls in love with Legolas. Funny enough, this story does not end conventionally, as you'd expect from typical romances. They fall in love, they get married, end of the story, the end. This story is a lot more complex than that, and also more down to earth, ironically, in a way, because it follows a more common person rather than the big manly heroes we're used to seeing from this series. Secondly, we have Keepers of the Hearth by Alawa. This is a short story, unlike the other two listed here. This follows an original character who is a housekeeper. Her name is Winfrith, and she is probably the most ordinary out of all the characters listed here between these three fanfictions. This story takes place throughout the course of a single day, but this day is significant, being it's the wedding of King Amor and Lothriel, and it offers a glimpse of the daily lives of the women in Middle-earth amid all of the, what you might consider more interesting things going on around them. Lastly, we have Fallen by Aliana, and this story is told from the first-person perspective of an unnamed young nurse, and it documents the harrowing war experiences from her eyes rather than those of the heroes. After the war, the narrator fights for full recognition of her service and the right to become a surgeon despite being a woman, which female surgeons are banned in this society. Interesting facts about Amid the Powers and Fallen. Both of these are over 100,000 words in length, which blows my mind. The Amid the Powers is apparently close to size. It's close in size to the Fellowship of the Ring itself, while Fallen is about the length of an average full-length novel on the shelf. So why is this important? Well, Tolkien fanfiction, like all fanfiction, arises from love and passion for the source material and or its author. The people who write these fanfictions are absolutely committed to their craft, and at the highest level, such as the aforementioned stories, the authors are fully in tune to Middle-earth and as many nuances and interesting little original details about it, and they're absolutely extraordinary. Honestly, I could not put aside the time to write this long of a fan fiction. I admire this sort of thing immensely. But works such as these offer not only previously missing representation to a massive percentage of Lord of the Ring fans, but also entirely new sides of Middle-earth and its politics for fans to consider. After all, we barely see anything from the women in Lord of the Rings, and I'm not the only one to notice this. An unnamed presenter at the 2012 Marlborough Conference stated there are more named horses than named women in the Lord of the Rings. Which, oof. And to all this, you may be asking, so what? Well, fanfiction is quite different from other works that we're used to. And while some people seek to be as original as possible in namely original works, others feel more creative when in conversation with other texts, as in responding to them, or even critiquing them and questioning, what if this was done differently? What if this character instead went this route? There's literally limitless possibilities with fanfiction. And fanfiction stems from a desire to remix existing works into something brand new and just as interesting, if not more so. With that said, fanfiction can be profound. It often explores background characters and missing potential, and it brings both of these into the foreground, which has the potential to flip the source content onto its head completely, as stated with the Tolkien context, which you barely see any female characters in the series, and yet what happens when you have a female lead driving the full-length plot of some of these massive stories? Things are bound to get interesting very quickly. And with that said, fanfiction lets prosumers find themselves in the story, where they may feel relatable individuals are missing from it. Not everyone's able to empathize as easily with folks like Aragorn, instead of more commonplace or female characters. Such new and different perspectives can help readers consider an original text from completely new angles and in completely different lights. And at the end of the day, fan fiction is quite literally an expansion pack of an original story, as I stated in one of our YA literature lectures. Now, here's my works cited for this presentation. Here's the credits to this lovely slide templates that I found. And thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.